Hello, hello, Dr. Frankie here, and it's Thursday, and I'm here with you all to cover another important topic. But before we jump into today's material, I would like to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. So, thanks to many of you who have already done so. I've got something like 13,300 and something subscribers on YouTube. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. But those of you that are new to my channel, and are liking what you're hearing and you're learning and you're benefiting from it, or you think that you have friends that also can benefit from it, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all the good stuff. It helps to actually encourage me weekly to show up for you all, even though I absolutely would be here regardless. But it gives me good feedback that people are benefiting from what I'm putting out there. And if there's anything that I haven't covered that you feel would be helpful, I'm happy to expand on topics that I've already covered, or even to talk about other topics that I haven't. So I'm one person and I only can think of so many things on my own. But I certainly have been working in the field of clinical psychology for over 2 decades. I work with couples, individuals, heterosexual, queer, of the LGBTQIA plus community. I'm a matchmaker, I'm a board certified sex therapist, and all that good stuff. So not afraid to talk about anything. I'm certainly not afraid to research things. So please bring it, bring it, bring it, bring it. Okay, so let's jump into today's material. Today I'm going to talk about how to navigate dating someone with a very different relationship to money. Man, money can be one of the biggest stressors in relationships. So when we imagine the difficulties we have to overcome in relationships, we often focus on the emotional hotspots, which include commitment, cheating, emotional availability, the whole 9 yards, right? And while these issues do often come into play, there's another major source of conflict in relationships that you may not see coming: money and finances. Up to 42% of US couples say they fight about money, and as many as 27% say these fights happen monthly or even weekly. Finances are stressful for everyone, and even more so when the economy is struggling. But they get even more stressful when you and your partner have different viewpoints or values around them. You have very different incomes, or one of you comes from wealth and one doesn't. Maybe you have extremely different spending habits or financial planning approaches. How can you build a healthy, low conflict relationship despite these differences? I'm going to share some recommendations with you. The first one is communicate upfront about money and keep doing so. Talking about money can be incredibly uncomfortable in many US cultures. We even have an explicit social rule around discussing salaries or payment. But we also know from experience that avoiding this topic can be super toxic. Avoiding discussing salaries can enable wage gaps, for instance. The first step in a healthy relationship with money for you and your partner is to be able to talk about it openly. Some of the topics that might be useful to discuss include: how much do you each make? How much have you historically made? What was your family's relationship to money growing up? Did your parents feel comfortable with money, and did they have a solid financial education? Or were they often winging it? What lessons, explicit or implicit, did they pass on to you, both about money? How much do you feel comfortable spending on recreational activities, eating out, traveling, discretionary shopping, little treats? And how much do you feel compelled to save? Do you have significant debt, whether it's student debt, credit card debt, medical debt? How does that debt impact your life? Are there major life goals you're looking forward to that have a significant financial component, like saving to go back to school, in vitro fertilization, eventual immigration to another country, or major medical expenses? Is there an expectation for you to financially support other family members now or in the future? This can feel overwhelming, and certainly you don't need to run through all of these questions rapid fire on a first date. However, on the other end of the spectrum, it's all too easy to find yourself head over heels for someone. Decide your boundaries around money. One of the hardest lessons to learn about relationships in general is that you can't control what the other person does, only what you can do. It may drive you crazy that your partner seems to want to order out for every single meal or buy clothes and jewelry as soon as they get their paycheck each week. These things are certainly worth talking about if they point to a larger issue in the relationship. But the goal should never be to convince them to change their behavior or understand that your way is right. Instead of trying to get them to change, think about what boundaries you want to hold. Do you need to set a budget for eating out each month? And if they want to put out past your allowed spending, they have to go by themselves or with friends? Are you excited to go on vacations, but only want to do so in cities where you have friends you can stay with? Similarly, if you make more money than your partner and feel an obligation to pay when you two go out for meals or make plans, consider setting a monthly budget for discretionary spending you're willing to do for both of you, and practice getting comfortable saying no when you hit it. It's especially important to set these boundaries for shared financial decisions like joint investments, travel, major expenses, things like that. Maybe your partner is dead set on a brand new apartment complex with all the latest amenities, and you're worried it will cost your entire paycheck to live there. Having previously set a boundary and communicating clearly about it, that you're only willing to pay 25% of your monthly pay for rent, helps manage expectations about your role in the renting process right from the outset. It doesn't mean you and your partner can't still live in their dream apartment as long as they're willing to pay the difference. This is also why having talked openly about money is key. It helps you both address head on whether an arrangement like this would cause resentment or guilt. Consider what financial decisions you want or need to make together and which you don't. There are a lot of assumptions we're encouraged to make culturally about what a long-term relationship should look like. One of them is that if the relationship is healthy and both partners are serious about it, then every possible commitment is made and everything is shared. You've moved in together, you sleep in the same bed, have all the same friends, spend all the holidays and vacations together, and so on. Of course, we know that in the modern era, this doesn't have to be the case. Couples can live separately or use separate bedrooms, take vacations separately, or even date other people in ethical non-monogamy situations. This goes for finances too. There's no rule that says you have to have a joint bank account or merge all your assets. In fact, especially for women dating men, it's often beneficial not to. The best resource for people facing intimate partner violence or abuse is having their own source of funds that their partner can't access or control. Even in the healthiest of relationships, though, there are advantages to keeping your finances relatively separate, or having a joint bank account for bills and shared expenses, but maintaining separate ones as well. It helps create a clear distinction between their money and yours, so that even if one of you has spending habits that stress the other out, it doesn't have to materially impact the other person. One idea is to agree on an amount that you both contribute to a joint account each month, maybe enough to cover rent, bills, and some savings as a cushion, and then leave the rest of what each of you make to spend as you wish. Big investments like a mortgage or a cross-country move can have their own savings plan, where you agree on an amount you can each contribute to the fund regularly. I hope you found today's topic helpful. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, you don't agree with something I've shared, I would love, love, love to hear what you have to say about it. And I try to respond to every comment. So looking forward to hearing from you. Big hugs, kisses, and I will see you all next week. Bye.